Hello everyone and welcome back to episode 158 of your favourite Formula 1 show. Yes, Knowing Wheel returns once again as we slowly but surely march towards the start of a new Formula 1 season. We've already been asked about it. No, we have no reference or kind of under the umbrella or any relationship with wheel knowledge. They've just nabbed our name, and we're going to have to preview and mention that every single episode we do now for the rest of time. But of course, someone that I do have a working relationship with, of course, as always, it's Jamie183. How are we doing, my guy?
Just about working relationship. It's on its last legs, but no, I'm doing well. That was, of course, a joke for legal reasons. And yes, it's going very well. We're almost there. This month, we see cars on the track, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, only what, just over 2 weeks away now, isn't it? Winter testing begins, which I'm very much looking forward to. We still don't know, actually, if winter testing is going to be live streamed or not anywhere, like on Sky or anything like that.
Probably. What else have they got to show?
Well, it hasn't for the last couple of years when they've had nothing else to show.
I suppose. You never know with these broadcasters, do you?
Pesky broadcasters getting in our way. We'll fly out there and do a live show. If this video gets 10,000 likes, we'll fly out to Bahrain for 3 days and give you all a live show.
If you're paying for it, I'll come.
I would. If it got 10,000 views, I would pay for that.
Done deal.
But yeah, I mean, it kind of feels like, doesn't it, at the moment? Obviously, we did that extra episode last week, obviously talking about Hamilton and his new Ferrari deal, we've kind of only really got half a week's worth of news. And in the winter, half a week's worth of news is very little news in a full week. So obviously we've started to get some of the official 2024 livery and car reveals. Obviously McLaren kind of threw theirs out early. So we mentioned that in last week's show. But we have got two to go over, haven't we, Jamie? Because although this video will go out afterwards, we're recording this before Stake have done their reveal.
Yes, so we've got the Haas and the Williams, which I think the Haas came out on Friday, kind of obviously drowned in the news of Hamilton, as will everything for the next few weeks. And then the Williams just came out today as we're recording this, so we've got that to go over too.
Yeah. So, I mean, Haas, obviously, first of all, I mean, neither car, from what I believe, is actually the 2024 car. The days of showing your car, apparently, now are long behind us. But obviously, Haas did their reveal. I don't know if you watched the live stream, Jamie, but it was hilarious.
I didn't. Expand.
So they did, obviously, like their fancy-dancy countdown. It started at 2 minutes, started getting quite slow towards the end for some reason.
It's just like the car then, isn't it?
Well, exactly. It got to 0 and the stream ended because clearly they hadn't put the actual announcement video onto the end of the countdown video. So it got to 0 and just stopped. Funny. It was hilarious to react to on the stream. First reveal, everything like that. We were counting it down and then it just ended. Which was not ideal. That being said, though, I quite like the livery, especially from the front, which is good when it's going to be in everyone else's mirrors for the entire year.
Indeed. I think from the side profile, it's fairly similar to last year's Haas. But from the front, the whole nose area being the black, like carbon, no paint on it now. I like it a lot. I think it looks really good. It's just a shame we'll only ever see it when it's getting lapped. Or maybe at the end of Q1 when Hulk's trying to drag it to 15th place on the grid. I have low expectations, as you might be able to tell, for Haas this season, but at least they've got a good car. Good-looking car, not a good car.
No, and I mean, it's kind of Komatsu, hasn't he, has come out and saying as well, they think they're really going to be, off the pace at the start of the year. I've seen a lot of people going, they're not going to make the 107% rule. There's no chance that happens. No. If that was going to be the case, they'd just show up with last year's car. I don't believe Haas could mess it up that badly. But it might just be that, say, they're half a second slower than everyone else or something like that. However, it seems like they've kind of said, we might be a bit off the pace at the start of the year, but we have got a plan that's going to bring us back into the fight. That fight is probably still with your other back market teams, unfortunately. But, we'll kind of wait and see as to, how that pans out. I was thinking about this, though. Haas, I'd argue the only bad livery they've ever done was the Rich Energy one. I think every other livery they've done has actually been pretty good.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. They found something that worked all right. I guess the 2016 one, looking back, was fairly boring, I want to say, but it was solid. And then they've just got it, they kind of nailed what they want to do with it now, which is like the black, white and red. It just works. It's very traditional colours, isn't it, for a livery? And yeah, other than the brown year where they were kind of forced into that by whatever his name is. What is
Williams
his name?
Story.
Guy? That's the guy.
The bearded guy.
Yeah, I've tried not to remember him much in my regular life. Yeah, other than that year, they have been pretty solid every year.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair assessment, isn't it? Of course, Komatsu's comments have really made everyone go, well, we could have had Andretti then, because clearly one of your current teams isn't actually competitive anymore in the sport, which is not great. I mean, let's be fair, the Hamilton news just came out perfectly for Formula One themselves, didn't it? I know we said this last week.
I wonder if they planned, obviously they would have known slightly earlier that Hamilton was going to announce it. I wonder if they reshuffled the announcement of Andretti to be on the same day, so it got drowned.
Well, it was the night before, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But I mean, you wonder. Obviously, we'll get our tinfoils hat on for just a second. You wonder if it was them that were kind of leaking it out to other people as well. That you get kind of talking here, there, and everywhere. Whether that was Formula One. Oh no, we accidentally sent this email to the wrong place. Oh, Andretti. Yeah, that's forgotten about.
Yeah, it was quite helpful for them.
We do have a bit of an update, though, about Andretti, don't we? Because apparently they are going to be taking legal action. Because allegedly, Formula One also, it kind of got missed out in all the public announcement. But allegedly, Formula One also invited Andretti to one-on-one talks that they said Andretti didn't show up to. And Andretti turned around going, when on earth did we get this invite?
They got lost in the post, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see that Andretti is still going to continue their preparation as if they're going to start in 26, which is quite interesting. Or 20? Was it 25? Sorry.
Well, this was the next thing I was going to mention. Obviously, they were always planning for 2026. Formula One then kind of made it out like they wouldn't be ready for 2025.
And it's like, yeah, we know.
that was never the plan.
Yeah, so it's cool to see they're not giving up on it, and like, as hard a wall as this seems to be, there's always a chance. So if Bernie Ecclestone could just come back and promise them a cost cap that's even lower than now, that'd be great.
Well, that doesn't matter, does it?
No, it doesn't even matter,
really. It's a completely separate issue at the moment. I mean, does this then, theoretically, potentially, open up an avenue in which, obviously, they'll get access to the rules, because the rules are publicly available when they release. What stops down the line Andretti spending 300-400 million quid a year before they get accepted and just build an absolute rocket ship?
Well, you know what Williams are complaining about at the minute is they can't do their facilities because
of the budget cap.
Because of the budget cap.
Yeah.
So why, like, Williams could theoretically, I don't think this will happen, but there's a loophole where they could say, right, we're quitting for a year. We're going to drop £1 billion on our facilities.
I don't think they've got that much money, but I love the idea.
And then please let us back in because we're Williams, and then we're going to be sweet.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't think that would happen, and it would be very legally difficult to try and quit the Concord agreement you've signed up to. But yeah, why not? Why not? And Andretti could come in with mega facilities now and just be right at the front straight away.
Formula One and all the teams should have let them in sooner rather than later. It might end up being. I'm sure there is actually some kind of stipulations surrounding it. But yeah, you never know. I mean, yeah, what stops you therefore? I mean, we're really going down a rabbit hole here, aren't we? But I remember, was it Panthera or something as well last year that was like an Asian-backed team that wanted to start? I mean, what stops you theoretically in what is probably on a global scale considered a lower kind of less, I'm trying to think of the right word, less high profile, lower profile kind of entry? What stops them, even if Formula One did like budget checks on them spending £130 million 10 times over and then just only submitting the 130 million quid that went to the right car? Oh, we accidentally nailed the regulations.
That would be only slight fraudulent behaviour. and they might end up in prison. But apart from that,
No,
it'd be great.
but how would they end up in prison? It's not a legal
I guess they don't.
thing.
They don't have to do the budget cap until.
No, exactly. But that's what I'm saying. If they set up 10 separate teams, that each then spent 130 million quid.
I feel like the FA might cotton onto that.
Maybe.
When Panthera come and dominate the sport.
Yeah, I just want to see this. I mean, we ranted about this too much last week, didn't we? But I would just love to see this come back and bite them hard if Andretti did end up. I don't want to see Andretti dominate for a decade or something like that, but just come in and sweep it or something like that. Williams, though, Jamie, we'll try and get back on track.
Yes.
Williams livery got dropped literally 2 hours before we're recording this.
For once,
I'm a bit disappointed.
Yeah, it's a bit mid, isn't it? It's just not different enough, I don't think, from last year's livery, because they've tried to be different, and it just doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't hit the spot quite.
No, I'll be honest. Like you said, it doesn't feel very different to last year's livery, but in my mind, everything pretty much about it is worse. It's just not as good as last year's livery.
I prefer last year's for sure. Yeah, it's just the mismatch of sponsor colours as well. You've just got all sorts going on there, and I've just noticed something that'll annoy you is that the back of the rear wing being purple when the rest of the car's blue is horrible.
Well, that's because of Kraken.
Yeah, exactly. So just hold your sponsorships to account and be like, can we change your colours a bit? And that, it wouldn't happen, but there you go. The driver overalls are really nice.
Yes.
So when you play in the F1 game as a Williams and you win online, that will look great.
Yeah.
But it's not a bad looking car. It's just all right. It's not great. I don't know how I could put my finger on it quite, but it's
I think the other big problem is as well, unfortunately, is I was talking about this when I was doing a live stream reaction to it. We were trying to think back. I reckon in the last 20 years, the only truly bad Williams livery was 2019. Like, Williams normally do a pretty good job with the livery.
The red one was interesting. Was that in the last 20 years?
No, that was the late 90s.
Yeah, I'm old.
And even they
I
weren't
thought that was
bad.
20 years ago.
Yeah, even they weren't bad. I would say. They weren't Williams, but they weren't bad by any stretch.
Yeah, they're quite iconic now, really, aren't they? But the 2019 toothpaste one was awful. But the one they had before that, was it the Rocket Williams at the start of the year, which never got ran?
That was 2020.
Oh, that was 2020, wasn't it?
That was not great in my mind. Everyone loved that, but I didn't think it was that great either.
Oh, it wasn't. The one they ended up running in 2020 was much better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good job. They barely even did pre-season testing before COVID, did they? Because they had turned up 3 days late.
And then didn't have the right wings on the car, wasn't it? And then Paddy Lowe signed up, got there and went, right, I'm leaving.
Yeah, this is awful. Get me out.
Great.
I it's all right. It's maybe a 5 out of 10.
Yeah, I think I've given it a 5 out of 10. It's not a bad livery, but it's bad by Williams standards, which is a shame. Because they're doing a lot of other things right at the moment.
Yeah. I know at the end of the day, liveries don't really matter.
No.
I don't want to burst everyone's bubble, but it's true.
No, I'm going to interject there then, Jamie, with your quiz.
Oh, no.
It's not related to Williams. I was actually more thinking about the red Williams that you referenced there a second ago.
Okay.
So the red Williams debuted in the Australian Grand Prix. I
accidentally give you a elite segue?
Kind of. I'm trying to really stretch it still.
Okay.
Basically, so yeah, they debuted back at the Australian Grand Prix in 1997, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Albert Park as well is apparently going to be Lewis Hamilton's first ever race for Ferrari.
I saw that. Yeah, the first race of the season back as the first race of the season from
2025.
25.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think you know where this question's going.
Is it Melbourne Grand Prix winners?
It is. You've got to tell me from last year, going backwards, how far can you go? I love doing this.
The thing is, I always get to the I don't want to speak
the end.
I should get to the early 2000s. I should get to around the time I was born.
You're normally pretty good with these. So I'll give you a hint as well.
23. Okay.
Bugatti had a 4-year streak here between 1929 and 1932, but that was at Phillip Island.
All right, so I'm just doing. It doesn't matter. It's been Melbourne for longer than I will go.
Oh, probably, yeah.
So, 2023
Yep.
was Max Verstappen.
Yep, the worst end to a Formula 1 Grand Prix in quite a while since
tragic.
Abu Dhabi 2021.
Hulkenberg should have been on the podium that race, by the way.
And it says how bad it was, but I fully agree with you.
2022, Verstappen DNF'd. It was Charlie Leclerc, I believe.
Yep, he's only ever Grand Slam, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. 2021, was there a race? I don't think there was a race.
There was not a race.
I'm assuming, 2020 was where it all kicked off, wasn't it?
It's hilarious when you look on Wikipedia. The 2021 race is not held due to COVID, like every other race in 2021. Yeah. The 2020 race is cancelled due to COVID.
Yeah, because they were there. And it all kicked off, didn't it?
Yep.
2019 was Valtteri Bottas.
Correct.
When he told everyone to F off afterwards.
He did.
2018. Yes, it was Sebastian Vettel. I was like,
it was.
Myself.
Yep.
2017 was also Sebastian Vettel, and everyone got gassed. And it's like, this is the year Mercedes aren't going to win it.
Even though Hamilton took pole by like 8 tenths.
Yeah,
that
was 7 tenths up in
yeah.
Sector 1. 2016, Nico Rosberg won the race because Hamilton got stuck behind Verstappen in a Toro Rosso and started crying about it. 2015, Lewis Hamilton.
Correct.
2014, Nico Rosberg because Hamilton DNF'd on lap 3 or something.
Yep.
2013, Kimi Räikkönen in the Lotus. 2012, Jenson Button.
Correct.
2011, Seb Vettel. 2010,
Correct.
Button. 2009, Button.
Yep.
2008,
Wasn't
Lewis
Button,
Hamilton.
Sorry, just to interject there,
Okay.
sorry, I'll give you a few seconds. Wasn't Button when he won in 9 and 10, like the first driver ever to win the Australian Grand Prix back-to-back for different teams?
Probably, yeah. Yeah, very impressive stuff. 08 was Hamilton because Nick Heidfeld and Rosberg were on the podium with him, and they actually got on back then.
And Seb Vettel gave... No, that was 9, wasn't it? Seb gave...
Kubica sent to the
the
Shadow
finger.
Realm.
Yeah.
Where was I? 07. I think it was Kimi Räikkönen in the Ferrari.
It was, correct.
Because both McLarens on the podium. Hamilton binned Alonso around the outside, didn't he? At turn
1 in his debut Grand Prix.
06.
And he's been better ever since.
06 was a Ferrari double DNF, and it wasn't Fisichella, so it must have been Alonso.
It was Alonso.
05, this is where I start struggling. I think... Wait. I swear Fizzy won the first race of the season once. Because he was leading the championship. I'll go Fisichella.
Correct. I was going to say, if you didn't get that one, then, as one of 4 Fisichella fans in the world. Was it 3 or was it 2? 3
he got 3 wins. 3 wins in his career. 04. Right, this is just Ferrari FC now, isn't it? I have no clue, honestly, from here on. But 04 would have been Schumacher.
Correct.
Because he won like the first 10 races, something, didn't he?
Well, yeah, 12, like 11 of the first 12. 12 of the first
Monaco.
13, yeah.
03 probably wasn't Schumacher because Ferrari started woefully. This is the one where Ralph Schumacher went in the air, wasn't it, at turn 1?
No,
that was 02. It wasn't Raikkonen because he only won 1 race. It wasn't Alonso because he only won 1 race. It's probably either Montoya or Schumacher. I would go Michael Schumacher to play it safe.
Incorrect.
Oh, there we go. Who was it? DC.
It's always DC.
I always get Coulthard wrong.
You're just adamant David Coulthard has never won a Grand Prix in his life.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
He did win quite a lot. I just forget.
I believe that might have actually been his last Grand Prix. He might have won a couple more races in 03.
03 sounds late for Coulthard to be winning. He was more like around 2000, wasn't he?
Well, it's not that late in the grand scheme of things.
I guess. David Coulthard. Some say he has a massive chin.
Yeah. And that'd be right.
No, because that's because he does, because it's David Coulthard. Right. I'm going to check. What was it? You need to stop asking me about races that Coulthard has won, because if you do, I'm just going to get it wrong every time.
You are. It's hilarious.
That was his last win.
It was his last. Yeah, because he came from 10th on the grid, I believe.
Wow.
One of the lowest ever down positions to win the Australian Grand Prix.
11th on the grid.
11th on the grid.
Raikkonen was third from the pit lane. Wow.
Yeah.
That McLaren must have been well OP.
It was at the start of the year. Just very, like every other McLaren in the early 2000s, just blew up constantly.
Yeah.
Well, you did pretty well there, Jamie. You did admirably.
Thank
you got back 20 years.
It's just David Coulthard is my enigma in these.
David Coulthard is forever your enemy in this series. Unfortunately, I've just gone down to the next point on our topic. It's fairly hot off the press, isn't it? And we don't quite know all the details just yet. But Christian Horner is allegedly under an internal investigation within the Red Bull organisation for workplace misconduct, as far as we know.
Yes, so we probably, with these kind of things, we don't often find out many details for about months, genuinely. So yeah, I don't think there's much news to be said, really. It's probably, you'd assume if it was really bad they'd have suspended him, which they haven't. He's going to continue working.
He's the only person that's ever done the job there, isn't he?
Yeah, only person who's ever been Red Bull team principal. He's the longest serving team principal. Horner's denied the accusations. There's not a lot really to say. We have no details.
Well, yeah, we don't quite know what's gone on just yet. But I think the other thing to mention, of course, is always that, unless it's really bad, let's not forget which team still hires Helmut Marko every year, despite the things he comes out with all the time.
That's the kind of thing I think it'll probably kind of rumble away and go away after a few months, because if it was bad enough to get him sacked, or they had no choice but to sack him, he would have got suspended straight away, which hasn't happened. And it's not bad enough, therefore it'll probably just go away eventually, because they still hire Helmut Marko, who's on record like a cultural appropriator.
Quite open about his idea of what to do with the Americas, which we won't go into in today's video. But it might potentially knock Red Bull off kilter slightly.
Yeah, it won't be pleasant for him, because there'll be a lot of bad press, obviously, and you never know. It might get to him, because not a lot seems to, but this probably will.
Have you heard about Ferrari? Apparently, Hamilton, I'm sure there'll be something to talk about Lewis Hamilton in every podcast this year.
Oh, yeah.
And his move to Ferrari. Have you heard, apparently, Ferrari are willing to basically bring on any member of staff that Lewis wants?
Well, I'm not surprised. It does feel like, if the best football player in the world signs for a new team, they're going to do anything they can to make them settle well. So, yeah. And Ferrari, as we've said, they don't include the wages and signing on fees as part of the budget cap. So
don't they? I think it was a top three.
It's a top three, isn't
salaries.
It?
Yeah,
you'd assume that Lewis. It doesn't include driver salaries. Top three staff, isn't it? Apart from
top three personnel plus drivers.
Okay, so Ferrari have so much surplus to spend, because 3 years ago they were spending hundreds of millions a year, and now they're limited to whatever it is, 140. So this money hasn't just disappeared. They're going to reinvest it, and obviously they have done in Hamilton, and they will do in anyone he wants. So it's a good time to be Lewis Hamilton, you'd presume, because he's going to take all his favourite engineers. He can take back the engineers that they gave to Rosberg in 2016.
He can, yeah.
So.
The other thing I thought about this as well, Jamie, about the budget cap, that might have helped Hamilton and Ferrari put a blinder in all of this, is, of course, obviously, if every team is limited to how much money they can spend on, personnel and all this, that, and the other, surely you would have thought wages, job offers from other teams are going to therefore be, it's not like, say, a Red Bull or a Mercedes or a Ferrari can pay you 50% more than you would at Haas or at Williams or something like that anymore. Surely there's got to be a small element from a few people of, say, 5 years ago, you had exactly the same offer from Mercedes or Ferrari. Sorry, say Williams and Ferrari. And Ferrari were willing to offer to pay you 20 grand more a year, but you thought, I don't really want to move. I don't want to do all this, that, and the other.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because obviously we know that most of Formula One obviously is still based in the UK. Obviously a lot of the teams, it's why it works quite well, of course, is that, personnel can move from team to team.
Yeah, without having to move
don't
their
have to
whole
move
life.
house, that kind of thing. Surely there's a bit of a situation now for a few people where, for Ferrari, you've kind of got the option to pay someone exactly the same as another team could, but you're Ferrari. And there's probably a lot of personnel now that are going, well, hang on a minute, I'll relocate to Italy for 3 years, enjoy some time in the sun, work for the arguably greatest team in the world. I'm sure I'm going to get
most
some hate
historical.
for that. Oh, easily, yeah, the team with the most history, and, on paper, the most successful Formula One team of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Ferrari, kind of, because of the budget cap, have been able to lean on their prestige maybe more than they were from their endless pit of money.
Yeah. Yeah, because the wages are now going to be similar, aren't they? So, yeah, it's a curious one. And I feel like the allure of working with Lewis Hamilton will attract people as well as the allure of working for Ferrari.
I want to see Adrian Newey going.
I want to see Bono. I can't imagine Lewis.
Well, Bono apparently, he was somewhere with Christian and Jerry Horner, wasn't he, this weekend, watching some horse racing or something boring.
Wow.
But he could end up going with Lewis as well. But it is very, very... And I mean, this is going to be one, isn't it, that's going to sort of slowly but surely play out all year long. And it might end up be something we kind of look back at a couple of years ago and, you can see where all the groundwork was coming in. As to how they end up in a position where Lewis wins his 8th. Come on, I believe.
There we go.
Speaking of the team, though, that Ferrari might be poaching a lot from, Toto Wolff has spoke about you claimed against it last week, Jamie. I do genuinely believe it might happen. Kimi Antonelli could end up in the Mercedes seat 2025.
Happen. I'm going to die on this hill. It won't happen for 2025.
Even when he's got a contract,
chance.
You don't think it'll happen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
is
the
it
quote,
still
it wasn't
Hulkenberg going?
No, it's anyone but Antonelli at this point. Just to prove myself right. The quote was not about Antonelli. The quote was, "We as a team, as in Mercedes, have the opportunity to do something bold," which could mean anything. It probably
could
doesn't.
Be quit.
It could be quit. It could be just run one car. It could be bring back Nico Rosberg. It could be Alonso. The thing it probably isn't for me with that is we don't do the easy option and sign Sainz, and we don't do the easy option and sign Esteban Ocon, which is good news because they're both boring. Yeah, something spicy might happen, and I hope it does. Get Alonso in that car for 2 years.
I don't
Title number
see
3.
a world
Here
in
we
which
go.
Mercedes signed Fernando Alonso.
Neither
and
do
yes,
I.
Some of
Neither
that is
do I.
personal hate. But people going, funnily enough, actually, I saw a video coming from, I don't know, maybe a channel that stole our name. Literally made a video about this today, going, Fernando Alonso is the perfect driver for Mercedes. And if you think that is wheel knowledge, you are a moron. Alonso kills Formula One teams. He ruins them.
He makes them self-destruct.
Alpine has imploded in on itself. Aston Martin is slowly I think it's going into a state of implosion over the course of the next 12 months. McLaren Honda, well, they got better when Alonso left. He basically kills teams and they get better when he leaves again. I don't see a world in which Merc go. Because let's be fair as well, George Russell would try to do some PR thing and Alonso would just be behind him saying Spanish swear words and rustling his feathers.
Alonso's burnt his bridges with Ferrari. He's burnt his bridges with McLaren twice. He's burnt his bridges with Alpine/Renault twice.
Well, he didn't burn them first
Actually,
time,
he only burnt them once with Renault.
Yeah, exactly. Or Alpine, really, but yeah.
Yes, and he's doing all right at Aston Martin. They don't hate him yet, but give it another year, then perhaps. Is it time to burn the bridges with Mercedes?
I don't think... Well, there's no bridges there to be burnt, is there, really? Alonso's probably walked up, if this was like a moat or something, gone, ha-ha, Mercedes. Oh, there's no bridge. That's a shame.
Yeah, yeah. Well, time to make a bridge. Do a couple of years, wait for Antonelli, and then burn it.
Fair enough.
I would love to see Alonso there. I would also love to see Hulkenberg there. And I know you're going to laugh, but genuinely, it makes sense.
It makes more sense than Alonso. I mean, we said this last week, didn't we? It sounds like such a ridiculous move, but we said that for years about Hamilton going to Ferrari. So
yeah. And
anything could
Hulk
happen.
will be—he's such a safe pair of hands; it's ridiculous. So yeah,
Unless
did you
you
see
take
as
him to
well?
Brazil in the wet.
Take him anywhere within sniffing distance of a podium, perhaps.
He'll bottle it.
Did you see? I don't know if it's. I hope it's not true, and I don't think it is true. Apparently, Albon's got a contract for Red Bull for 25. What do you think?
I saw it. It was hilarious. Because I saw this and thought, oh, okay, interesting. And then read two simple words, Jamie, that made me think, well, this is clearly just a laugh, isn't it? And those two words were Peter and Windsor.
Right.
He's just, bless him. Like, I mean, we give him some stick, don't we? Because he's not a particularly good commentator anymore. But he's I think he does need to be tested whether he's senile or not. Because every time he talks about something, no one else. The only reason why anyone believes it's real is because you get all those aggregate Twitter accounts that just repost each other.
Yeah.
Of them going, oh well, reports have come out from respected F1 journalists. You go, no, it's Peter Windsor. It's not happening. It's not real. And I hope for Alex's sake, if I was in his boat personally, unless they're willing to offer me a ridiculous amount of cash just to get bullied by a Dutch kid, I wouldn't be taking it either. I'm kind of in the mindset of Williams have clearly committed to building a team around you. Why go back to Red Bull and just be Max's number 2 again?
Yeah, I don't think it is true, to be honest.
I hope it isn't.
I hope it isn't. Yeah. Also, fresh off the press 22 minutes ago, so since we started recording this podcast.
Okay.
Back to the slightly less fun news that we were talking about earlier about Christian Horner. According to Motorsport Total, who I think are German, Christian Horner is said to have been friendly advised to voluntarily resign as team boss.
Really?
So it might be bad.
This could suddenly be a lot bigger than we initially thought then.
But we'll have to wait and see. No more details. And yeah, no doubt as soon as he pressed stop recording, he'll have resigned. But
we guarantee it. I mean, we basically should do a quick little reaction then, shouldn't we, Jamie?
Just in case he does.
Hot off the press, Christian Horner, during recording, has resigned from Red Bull, Jamie, due to the ongoing allegations. I mean, whether they're true or not, this is not a good look, is it?
No, it's not. It's not at all for him. And yeah, I worry. Well, I fear for the if it was a victim or whatever he's done to somebody at Red Bull, then they should have a lot of people around them.
I hope they get the support that they deserve.
Yeah, but we won't dwell on that.
No, we might end up. We're going to end up having to do 2 emergency shows in 2 weeks, potentially
Hopefully
down
not.
the line.
It will just be late next Monday.
Next Monday. Last point of conversation, then, Jamie. F1 Academy is now going to be giving out super license points.
Yeah, which I think is good news for the series, because obviously with the demise of W Series now, where F1 Academy's sort of taken that space, it makes sense that they kind of fully integrate it into the development into Formula 1. It's not many super license points. I think it's comparable to F3, isn't it? Or slightly fewer than F3.
I'm trying to just find it again to make sure we've got all of our numbers correct. Here we go then. So F1 Academy, if you win it, gives you 10 points. You get 7, 5, 3, or 1.
Okay. I think F3 is 10 if you win it, if I remember rightly.
F3 is more than that, sir. F3 is 30.
Oh, so it's really nothing like F3. Right. Yeah, I think it's good. I think it'll be a while. Someone's playing very loud music outside. It'll be a while before I think we see a graduate from F1 Academy make it to F1, which is a shame. But it's setting the trajectory, isn't it? It's all about trying to get the generation after the current one more prepared for Formula 1, which I think is only a good thing. The more interesting thing I thought was the wildcards, which sounds... it sounds a bit video gamey, doesn't it? But I think it's quite a good idea, where basically teams are being kind of encouraged to bring in special drivers for special races. So, for instance, if you're racing in a country where there's a prominent female driver who doesn't run the sport most of the time, they can bring them in as a wildcard entry for that week, which sounds like it could be quite interesting, especially in the countries where perhaps women's rights are not as prominent, that could be a good thing.
I just hope it doesn't immediately get screwed over when,
By what?
say, for example, I don't know where W Series is hosting Grand Prix this year, but let's just say it's the British Grand Prix weekend, and Yorkshire's finest, Dave, let's call her Dave as an example, is making a wild card entry in Formula Academy, and then suddenly she's 8 seconds off the pace of anyone else.
It's true.
I hope it is properly kind of background checked and everything to make sure it doesn't then look ridiculous when a wild card entry comes in and it's suddenly way slower.
Yeah. It's always that thing with wildcard entries, isn't it? They've got to be good enough. I know in tennis, occasionally when you bring back like Andy Murray, who's been injured for 4 years, and he suddenly gets eliminated round 1, it was kind of, well, that was pointless, wasn't it? But we shall see. I would quite like to see just a randomer off the street go up against any professional driver, just to see how slow they are, because I think it would boost people's respect a lot for people in the junior series.
They did this in the US. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but a US basketball player did this years ago, where he was like pretty much consistently always the lowest rated player at the end of the season. And kind of obviously the logic was, I'm the 450. I'm the worst player in the NBA. I'm still the 450th best basketball player in the world. If you think you've got a chance against me, come and have a game against me.
Yeah.
And he absolutely destroyed everyone.
Yeah. It would be interesting. It's always the thing with Olympic sports, isn't it? They should just have someone from the crowd just try and throw a shot put or throw.
Oh, absolutely! I reckon they should always do that at the Olympics. They've got to get a randomer on to show you
just how skilled these sports people are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Although I would quite happily have a 1v1 against Raghunathan. Just want to go on the record.
I want to see the wildcard entry for Zandvoort be a young unknown driver called Max Verstappen.
That would be disgusting.
That would be horrendous, but it's the sort of thing he would do.
Yeah, I believe it. I think that's going to wrap us up, though, Jamie. We've had nothing else come through, have we? Through the Twitter sphere.
Not that I can see, no.
Nothing since Christian Horner-gate.
No. Erling Haaland's starting for City tonight, so by the time this comes out, I'll be very disappointed that he blanked my captain on FPL. But there you go. That's what my Twitter looks like, anyway.
Okay, so just again another quick update from the Christian Horner incident.
Oh no.
So Eric V. Harren, who is a Dutch F1 journalist who works for Telegraph. I don't know whether they're respected in the Netherlands or not. But apparently, the Christian Horner incident obviously is going on behind closed doors. Red Bull itself's confirmed it to him, and also the ones who started the investigation, not Red Bull Racing. So it's the Red Bull company, not RBR. The accusations, and I quote, are very serious, and there is allegedly proof of said incidents.
Right. So it could be curtains.
Not good at all. Of course, we won't comment too much on that until we got, obviously until we have a lot more information on it, and obviously we don't want to make accusations or assumptions in any which way. But after all the highs of the last couple of weeks, that's a really, really disappointing note to end on, isn't it? As well. But thank you all, as always, so much for listening. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure you drop us a follow, leave us a like, make sure you follow us on all the various social medias. You might have noticed already that we're doing a lot more stuff, more content around as well, which we hope you guys are going to like. So, yeah. We'll be back very, very soon with more Knowing Wheel.